right, good evening. Welcome to the December meeting of the Town of McCandless Environmental Advisory Committee. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda, approval of the minutes from November. Does anybody have any comments, questions, additions to the minutes? Okay. We have a motion to approve.
Also move.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Thank you. Moving on to our project updates and discussion items for this month. First up, just an update on the stormwater utility educational materials. Mainly, I just wanted to say thank you very much to Tony and to Dawn for putting some great information together. Between that and John also as well, putting information together in, I guess, the upcoming calendar, town crier, everything. So that looked great. Now, what were the plans, I guess, because you had two different lengths of document, and I'm trying to remember
our conversation.
I'm trying to remember too.
We were saying, what were we going to say with the longer document? We could use that elsewhere.
McMahon, or
Not
what's that, McCandless and me?
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
Yeah, big
How
deal.
do we, what did you call it, McMee?
Big deal, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so on McMee, and I was gonna ask, how do we go about getting something posted? Do we submit stuff to John?
Yeah, that goes through.
Does somebody give us access? I'm happy to post it and try to draft something if
The
I can.
idea that we're generally doing is if town council does decide to go in this direction, that yes, they want to at least look further into this utility ideas, definitely to use, McKinney over a period of, months, all next year, basically. And we can work collaboratively on that as far as we want to put stuff out.
Okay,
And then the other portion is the interactivity, so we need to figure something out with that too. But I mean, work with like Bob Grimm on that.
okay.
Okay, so is there anything else that's pending we need to do with that? Or are we just going to continue with documents we've put together and keep them all out there? I think that was our direction right now, waiting to see how things pass.
Yeah, I
through
thought there
council.
was like just a general stormwater and watershed education piece that we were gonna do sort of regardless of the stormwater utility. Either way, it's good information,
Right.
either way. So yeah, we can feed that to John and continue to expand on that because there's a lot of more information we can add.
Right.
I would say I also would like to congratulate you. The nice job, well done. I received on your behalf compliments about how well done it was. And in terms of, I'll just bring it up here instead of under the report, is that I don't know yet. I have a conversation with Bob Grimm scheduled for 2 p.m. tomorrow to talk more about the stormwater utility. The engineers have provided additional information about more definitive information about the ERU calculations through their work with GIS and assessing the commercial versus institutional versus residential properties. So I do have that report in hand. And tomorrow, and Bob and I are going to talk about where we go from here with this. Is this something that may be brought up at the next council meeting at the end of the year? Or certainly it may be something that ends up moving to when the new council is elected.
Okay.
I just don't know yet.
So that report is the next step that was approved.
That
for
was,
Gateway
that
to
was,
do.
that is exactly right. They
Okay.
the engineers completed the work that they were assigned to do. And the next step would be, which is estimated at about a $60,000 cost, would be to take it from where we are today with their work to being in a place where if the town so desired, council agreed at that point, the new council agreed that they could implement a stormwater utility if they so choose. So I guess those are the two next steps. Is there going to be, and when, you know,
Sure.
this month or after the first of the year, to approve the expenditure of additional funds. And then ultimately, if those are approved, whether or not the town chooses to move forward with actually instituting a stormwater utility format. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Is this, the piece that Tony and Don created, is that going in McMail?
It went
It was
last month.
in, it went out already.
Oh, it was in
It was in the last one.
last month. Oh, okay.
Yeah, David, we actually, we wrote it way too long. I think we had over 2 pages or something. We had images and stuff. So John told us we shrunk it down.
Right,
And I
okay.
think what we were discussing, and I just wanted to clarify, the longer one, do we want to submit that to McMee as it is, or do we want to edit or
No, I
change
mean, I
it?
think we could do the longer version as is.
Yeah.
On whenever we come around to that.
Okay, with images also, or?
We can
Yeah.
fit images in, yeah. for sure.
Yeah, okay, all right. I didn't know if there was any restrictions there. Okay.
And I know on the McMee site, we can also, there's an area, I was looking at what they did for the deer. And you can like, there's an area where you can put links to outside
Mhm.
resources. And
Okay.
so I'll come up with a list of various links to feed to Dawn for that, that goes along with our,
Right.
mhm.
Okay.
And I know there were other things besides links on the right-hand side that you, other pieces of information you could share. So,
I'll have to look at it.
yeah,
I'll
well,
look
I
at
know we
that,
can
yeah.
fill it out a little bit more pretty easily.
Okay. Oh,
It would be a
great.
really great resource.
Great effort. Thank you very much. Anything else on stormwater? Not next up is an update on single-use plastics. I believe you've seen some emails from me and from Tony around just letting you know that the city of Pittsburgh has voted. Or I guess they have, what exactly is their position
They've
again? They have
proposed
a
it, I
bill.
think, right? But they
Right.
don't.
Proposed bill to ban the plastic bags, single-use plastic bags within the city of Pittsburgh.
Now, that hasn't been voted on, right?
I don't
couldn't
believe
find
so.
it. Yeah, okay.
I have
couldn't
not
find it.
seen, but it has been formally proposed and a bill has been written.
Okay.
I believe we did send out the link to the bill, which was interesting to read and how that compared to some of the documents that we had seen from Penn Environment. Right. So that's keeping a really close eye on how that works its way through the city. Tony, I know you've forwarded us some extra educational stuff, which has been great. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I guess I was just kind of, this isn't like, I think it's something that's happening on the local level around the country. And so the reason I sent out an email earlier, just to kind of provide some context, there are over 350 cities in the US that have some form of a plastic bag ban. So it's not just McCandless and Fox Chapel or the city of Pittsburgh that are discussing these things. And then there are whole countries like Canada, I think recently has a ban that was initiated. And so there's a lot of countries around the world that are doing this as well. So I just wanted to provide some context there. I think, and I don't know if this is beyond the conversation that we have about plastic bags, but there's the broader context of plastic in general, obviously in the fossil fuel consumption. So plastic isn't bad, but when we use it for a single purpose, that's when things become iffy, right? It's not only just pollution in the water and on the land and stuff like that, but we also have to consider the extraneous fossil fuel consumption beyond, climate change and things like that. As we know, fossil fuel is a limited resource. So I think that in the broader context, these kind of bans help to reduce the wasteful nature of the plastics.
Right. And
Yeah.
on the other hand, too, I know Ken provided some interesting information as well that basically said there's a lot more research that needs to be done on, exactly whether the plastics are harmful. And I thought it was very interesting how it talked about over time, evolution. A lot of times nature finds ways to break down hazardous substances over time. But we're talking millions of years. So, but it's still a very interesting perspective, and I appreciate the extra information.
It doesn't have any current relevance. It's just something that that scientists are looking at, and they may be able to move along. It's kind of like with oil spills and like the Gulf of Mexico, there's actually, some of the reason they're not as bad as we expect them to be is because there's natural seeps. And so there's bacteria that naturally eat oil. And so this is just one of those things of, there seems to be a few beasties out there that like to eat, that can eat the plastic, and it's just a matter of, that's a long way out there.
Yeah, I realize that gives you reason for just a little bit of optimism that maybe there's some good things that will happen. And
But my understanding, there's types of wax worms that will eat polystyrene. Does that sound right at all? I think there's research in that. I don't know exactly how, but it helps to break down instead of over hundreds of years. I guess they can break down over tens of years or something after the wax worms do their thing, was my understanding. But yeah, no, that's true. There's I guess that would be used more in like a landfill type scenario, maybe.
Yeah, but that's actually where I thought it had some applicability was is that if those organisms are anaerobic, you could actually retroactively put them into landfills
Right.
that we're
Yeah.
already generating natural gas from.
Yeah.
You know,
Inoculated or something. Yeah.
yeah,
But
that again is.
yeah, that's
right. But it's very interesting to understand how those processes can work. So,
well, just doing some research with plastics though, and again, this is meant maybe a broader picture, but plastics do last a long time in the environment. They break down a lot, especially when they're exposed to UV. So they turn into microplastics, and the microplastics themselves aren't usually the problem. Although there are a couple of plastics that will break down into some harmful things depending on what additives are in them. But the plastics can absorb things like PCBs and some of the dioxins and some of these chemicals in the environment. What are the PFAS? I think is some of these long-term type chemicals. And so that's where it becomes an issue when you're consuming, I don't know, a product or whatever, an animal or something that is eating a bunch of plastic. It can now, some of those chemicals can now basically be stored in your own fat cells. So that's when things become a little bit more, let's say, dangerous for human toxicity type stuff. So,
right.
With a lot of stuff, it's what they break down into.
Yeah.
It's like with DDT, it in and of itself isn't that toxic in the environment. It's what the microorganisms break it down to in the soil that causes all the problems.
Oh,
It's one of my thesis advisor, that was his thing at Penn State. So yes, what they break down into oftentimes is what the problem is.
So I guess like moving forward on this, I guess for now, we're just going to kind of keep an eye on what the city does.
I believe that was our
Yeah.
path forward. Yes.
And potentially we could put together, educational,
Right.
I think we talked about putting together educational materials, either for McMail or McMe posting.
And
That McMe site really is very cool.
yeah.
Now that I finally checked it out.
I'll touch base with a couple of Allegheny County council members and just see if there's anything on their docket on
Okay.
along those lines.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, I was wondering, I was not, I mean, I've been following it as well, and and you sounds like you have better context than I do. Trying to understand if they're really, with county council, if there was a snowball's chance that this would actually get passed to do the actual plastic ban bag. So that would be, I mean, I'm just suggesting that,
That would be more comprehensive.
well, first of all, yeah, I mean, I think we've said that, but kind of having a bigger, if they should choose to do that, but understanding what before this committee decides what they might or might not choose to want to in the future recommend to council, to have a better understanding of what the view of county council is, the bigger
Right.
picture.
Right.
Group, because certainly, if the county, is in favor of it and and this is a city, actually, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I think this is a city issue. But if the city, which, then maybe the county will also, get on board, and it whether or not McCandless wants to be in between all of that,
Right.
Because I think we've always said that it would be better if such a thing were to happen, the best case scenario would be a statewide
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Mhm.
thing. It's, where does, overreach start and end in a community versus the bigger
Right.
political
Right.
picture. But I hope you will continue to follow this, because I think it's an issue that is important, and
Right.
it's getting, more and more places are choosing to do these kind of things.
Right, right. So it's something right now we're keeping an eye on that. Ken, if you can kind of get a feel for
Yeah, I'll
whether
touch
it's
base
on
on
the
that.
county's radar or not. And we will also keep it on our list for future educational programs.
John, can I ask, is there a way to track, I guess it would be site views for McNee? Or do we
Yeah,
get a
we're
lot of?
looking at the website, we can keep track of site views, how many people were engaged, how many people viewed it, things like that.
Yeah, okay, that might be
Can you
interesting
tell-
to see.
Can you tell if I did that?
No, he's testing
No,
his stuff.
just-
Next, I'd probably see. how
Big
people
brother
spread
and
that
the
around.
cameras. Just kidding.
One kind of interesting observation about Pittsburgh is, I'm down there in Brighton Heights area a lot, but people use blue plastic bags for their recycling.
Mhm.
It's all over. They recycle every 2 weeks. So they use, Giant Eagle bags, and there's 6 bags out there full of plastic bottles and cans and everything else. So I think the city is getting into providing blue
Yeah.
barrels.
Mhm.
It hasn't hit everywhere yet. Maybe they have to request them or something like that, but I think that's kind of a issue, is how are people gonna recycle now, or they have to learn a whole new way to recycle.
Well, hopefully those organizations that do it that way will change. I think when the city of Pittsburgh first started doing recycling, they had blue plastic bags.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So
Uh-huh.
that's an old.
Well, the funny
That's
part
all.
is the recycle facilities have to remove every
That's
single
what
one
I
of
was
those
trying to
bags.
figure out how that happened,
Why
how
would
that
they- yeah.
works.
And changing a
that's-
process like that, where somebody has done it for so long,
That's right.
will lower engagement significantly. I mean, people, if they have to put change the effort, or, it's just,
It's much easier to have that open bin like McCandless had to start with.
That's right.
yeah.
Just, just toss your stuff in and haul your bin out to the street. So,
Anyway, so I don't think it's gonna be like a really quick transition in the city anyway. Folks are gonna have to learn on new
Yeah.
things.
right.
But anyway.
Anything else to add on the plastics? All right, next up, Ken, update on our Wall Park grant application.
I really haven't done too much with that, because Jeff is really, really busy, and I want to get up, all of his contacts and everything he's
Mhm.
done and everything, so I'm not recreating the wheel. The DCNR grant application did fail. There's another grant out there that I'm not familiar with, and again, Jeff's been really, really busy, so we'll
Yeah.
get together
Okay,
and get
I
through
thought
all
there
that.
was still one more out
Yeah,
there. I
there's still
can't
one.
remember what the amounts were on the two.
Is the DC, I meant to look this up because I actually know this, but maybe you do, John. The DCNR one, was that for the engineering, or was that the big one?
That was for the engineering, that was the initial one.
Right, so, just FYI, so thank you. So that was the original one, that was a
Okay.
relatively minor amount of money
Okay,
just for engineering. But the big one, which could potentially even handle engineering and the work, I guess, is still outstanding, and that was like 250,000.
Okay.
I'm not aware of the exact.
Yeah, it was a big number. So anyway, the big one's still hanging out there.
okay, that's what I couldn't remember. I knew one
Yeah.
was much bigger than
And
the other.
I
Okay,
kinda- When Jeff had it, I just kind of stayed away from it.
Yeah, right, that's fine,
and it's
we're just
probably
waiting.
back
We're
in
just
our
waiting.
minutes too, exactly what they are. I did not dig back to see which was
Yeah.
which.
Is there any interest on council for this, 3 million that's coming in on COVID to use for a trail or? No,
Well, I can't, I can never speak for all of council, but
it hasn't been brought up or anything or.
yeah, I mean, there's so many things that, that need, I mean, probably, things like, just by way of example, we are probably 10 years down the road longer than we should be in trying to upgrade this town hall. The windows are leaking. The windows are not energy efficient. The HVAC system is failing. Things just, things like that, things like that. And I think that stormwater is probably a competition to that as well. And I let's just say, in my opinion, I think that there are a variety of things to spend money on that would be looked at more as needs rather than wants. And I think that the trail work is definitely a sincere want, but probably doesn't rise to the level of spending any extra money on at this point because of these other things that have been put off for far too long.
Well, let's see how that grant goes, I guess. That's
Well,
probably
yeah,
the first step, right?
the grant is a specific grant.
Right.
It is, I think that the town administration and the council are 100% behind the idea of trying to continue the work with our green spaces, for sure. I think that it probably, getting more stuff done probably depends significantly on the ability to continue to pursue grants and get it done through that avenue.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Shelley.
Solar energy, Tony.
Yeah, so we had, Bob and I actually had a constructive meeting with MTSA. So there was some possible, I think, collaboration there for the solar power purchase agreement. So basically at this point, we're waiting on MTSA is supposed to provide some of their, or their consumption and their electricity rate to see whether it's worthwhile doing for them. And then we're going to pursue, most likely going to pursue the Get Solar program. And then we're going to have at least an initial bid on the power purchase agreement so that the MTSA can get an idea of what that looks like. So
Okay.
there were a lot of questions about how that's structured, and every power purchase agreement's a little bit different, but at least they get an idea to see what kind of term it is and what the cost would be and things like that.
Okay.
But I think in the long run, we'll definitely make sure that we have multiple bids. Yeah.
Okay. But it's looking good that the town will combine potentially with MTSA.
We're hoping, because I think, I think, as I mentioned before, it looks better for a developer if there's more consumption.
Sure.
I believe, I forget that exact number, I could look it up, but the town was somewhere around 200,000 kilowatts a year or something like that. So it was kilowatt hours, I should say. So it was pretty minimal, and I think through Get Solar, we might find some interest there.
Okay.
Even without MTSA. But MTSA obviously consumes a lot more power, so that would be helpful.
So what is Get Solar exactly?
Oh, that's it's the Pennsylvania Solar Energy nonprofit.
Oh, okay.
And so they have basically, anyone, it doesn't even have to be a municipality or nonprofit. It can be a company or something, but they'll go to them and basically they'll create a RFP, a request for proposal. They'll send it out to their sources, developers and installers and everything, and they'll collect all the bids and help the entity to work through those bids.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, and I think the program costs $25 or something, like it's not
Mhm.
much, right? It's very minimal. And it's an application
But
process.
they do a lot of that administrative work for
Yeah.
the municipalities.
And you know, I think they have a lot of experience, so they can consult on that to say, hey, you know,
Mm-hmm.
last year we had this number and this number is too high or something.
Right,
So
right. Okay.
I think it's helpful to have that help. But yeah, and working with Get Solar, they would help basically spread the word, if you will.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's great. Thanks for continuing to keep that rolling.
It's been a long road. About a year now, yeah.
At least it hasn't sunsetted.
That's right. It's still hanging in there, yeah.
Hey, Judy, I have an update. I know I'm not on here, but I do have an update.
Okay. Can we do that? We can call it miscellaneous.
It's okay, I think we can do it.
Yeah. All right. Go for it.
Okay, all right. So just to kind of touch base on the sustainability, sustainable PA, the gold certificate that we got a little while back. I've built a relationship with Jim Price. So Shelley, thank you for the information from him. I want to let you know that the latest information I have is that actually today they did a preview launch internally, but they are not actually going to launch the new requirements for the certification until March of 22. So I was able to ask a couple of questions over the last couple of weeks. And our certification will not expire at this moment. And we will actually, at the launch of the new information in March of 22, we will have 2 years
Oh, okay.
to either maintain our gold or obviously the goal would be to get into the platinum status. So we do have a good amount of time to kind of build that out, which is
Okay.
really nice. They recognize that a lot of the materials were originally created in 2011 and 2012, and they're not necessarily relevant as they would be
Okay.
now,
Okay.
or as they were then. So they're going to be almost all new. So that's why they're giving us some time and everyone time to kind of rebuild and how they're going to approach it. And I guess before, links were really important of how we proved that certain things were going on or being posted. They're going to have more options available now for us to be able to prove and show that we're obtaining these goals.
Okay.
Not sure, I was unaware of this, and maybe somebody can answer this question for me, but are we part of Connect? Or a member of Connect, which is the Congress of Neighboring Communities? No, okay. No,
Never
haven't
heard of
heard.
it.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm actually, Jim is really familiar with RJ. I guess RJ was his,
Planning.
what's that?
She's our planning.
She's our planning, but
Yeah.
intern.
Oh,
RJ was
okay.
Jim's intern. So
Ah,
he has some connection to us as well.
mhm.
He is excited about our energy for this. And sorry, I don't mean to think of energy like solar energy, but like our enthusiasm towards it. And so he is looking at us as kind of guinea pigs, as kind of early adopters. And he's actually going to give us a preview before it hits the streets, I guess you could say, in late January.
Okay.
So we're going to have a little bit of a jump ahead of it, just to get some thoughts out there, and we can I can bring those to everybody when those come out in January. But back to that whole Connect, he is going to introduce me to Lydia Morin. And he said, this is a good group to be part of and to get intertwined in, because they will, they have all of these other communities that have already done all these sustainability projects and
Mhm.
can kind of help us to usher in some, at least set up some of the basics that we're going to need as well. So I'm going to look into that moving forward. But I just kind of wanted to catch everybody up on where that is, since I haven't been here the last couple of months.
So Connect is through the University of Pittsburgh. It's through GISB,
Oh.
the Graduate School of International and Public
Oh, okay.
Affairs. And I should probably know more about this, but I've heard this like about 5 times the last couple of months, and I just haven't had a chance to look into it. It does say brings together the city of Pittsburgh and surrounding municipalities to identify common public policy changes. We advocate for collective change on behalf of Allegheny County's core. So I think like what you were getting at was there might be policies or something that are similar to what we're doing, or maybe there's communities that have gone through the process that could help us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'll probably look to see if I can reach out to.
Yeah.
Did you say there was someone named Lydia? What's that?
Lydia Morin,
More.
LLIDYARMORI. I'll send you.
If I reach out, I'll definitely CC you on
Please.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm waiting for Jim. Jim's going to actually meet with her tomorrow. He said he was going to pass on my information too. So as soon as I connect the next month, we can touch base and hopefully I'll have some information from her.
Okay, great. And it's great. We get a head start. It's not so great thinking that it's an entirely new process.
You're right. You're right. Right. But I mean, I think it's
Nothing
good. I don't know
fair.
how long you had when you started the process. But I feel like having 2 years might be a good amount of time for us to at least maintain, if not move into that platinum, or at least move forward.
I only
towards it.
caution, it will go fast.
I bet.
If,
I bet.
especially if they're talking about changing, modifying, probably and upgrading as we expect everything.
Yeah.
So the problem with timing is that this is how I envision it, was when you look at like the points and the things you need to do, again, by way of example, is that some of the things that needed to happen were things like the town being willing to pass a resolution about something.
Mhm.
Like we did, one that we did for this one was women and minority business, support resolution. So some of the things, just to get some points, can take, this group has to go to council has to consider, provide information, a resolution has to be written, and, so it gets a little complicated. So don't waste any time. All I can say is don't waste any time, because it does go fast to get everything accomplished that you might want to, especially if the goal is to achieve platinum, and which is going to be undoubtedly quite challenging this time.
And
But good luck.
Thanks. I'll be reaching out.
I wasn't being sarcastic. I'm happy to help if I can in any way.
Great, thank you.
Was RJ with us when you did the initial one? Or don't think so.
No, but it sounds like she could be another benefit to the process for
Sure,
sure. I'm sure she'd be supportive in any
Oh,
way
for
she
sure,
could.
yeah.
thank you very much, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Continuing to follow up on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about solar? Has,
Sure.
the schools North Allegheny been approached about this? I'm trying to think, can my tax bill be reduced if they go solar and that kind of thing?
Amen.
That's a good point. I actually,
No, I know.
I sent an
In
email.
theory.
I sent an email out to Melissa Freeze, the new superintendent.
Mhm.
This would have been back in late summer,
Uh-huh.
but you can imagine at that time things were flying with all the COVID stuff. So
Yeah.
Right.
I basically laid off. My semester's coming to an end, and I'm planning, it's on my to-do list to do right
Okay,
after
I
this.
was just
So I'm
wondering.
going to follow up with them. I do think, their costs would be reduced just like anyone else. So I'm going to reach out to them, see if they're interested, and I'd be happy to help them too. I think the more solar, the better,
Yeah.
especially when it has economic incentive too. So,
Could they be combined, just like the concept of combining MTSA?
oh,
and-
maybe, yeah. I
And the
didn't,
town with the school district, because
Yeah.
that sounds like a major.
That would be huge.
Yeah.
Oh,
that-
they
that-
would
that
have
should be
huge consumption with
huge.
all their buildings. Yeah.
Again, I won't be
They
here
have
to
roof
be able,
space.
Yeah,
but
that's
it,
right. Yeah.
it seems like that's something to really try to pursue with, because you gotta believe if you could get buy-in from the school district combined with MTSA or even the school district and the town,
Yeah.
that the town would be a big beneficiary of the magnitude of their, that, the school district opportunity.
Yeah, great idea, Shelley. I should have thought of that, actually. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
The other thing I would like to do is I teach the capstone sustainability course at Pitt. So obviously we have groups of students that are working on things. And one of the things I think would be really interesting if North Allegheny would be interested in doing the solar, I would be interested in providing some, let's say, curriculum and things for different grade levels to, to incorporate that into a conversation in science class or something like that. And then they could go outside, maybe the arrays on the roof, but maybe we put a few panels on the side to show them kind of how it works, So I think that would be really a great way to bring an education piece into that too. But these are all things that, I will, if I can get a conversation with the
Get on it,
superintendent.
Tony.
What's that?
I said, get on it.
Get on it, yeah, get on it, yeah. But yeah, if I could just have a meeting with her, I think that would be useful, yeah. But no, that's a great idea, combining the township with.
Yeah, could be big, very big, at great rates because of the magnitude.
Exactly. All right.
And
Anything?
with the money we save, we could build a trail.
Exactly. So true.
I like it. Okay, anything else on solar energy sustainability? For this projects? And if not, we'll move on to community outreach, and we've got a lot of that going on right now too. Dawn, thank you so much for stepping up and taking over the EAC Christmas tree. I would have hated to have not been able to do that. I think that's something we really need to do. So if you want to just, I guess, rehash what you need from everybody.
Yeah, I actually, if people want to see, I'm sorry, I didn't get it printed out, but I can show you on my phone. If you're interested after the meeting. I have pictures of all the ornaments that we're making, but Tony's children have made some ornaments for the tree already. That he's giving us some stick ornaments. We're going to be doing some pine cone bird feeders. We're going to be doing some milkweed poinsettias, which are very cool looking. We've gathered some thistle and some ornamental grass tops and things like that to sort of stick in the tree. And then we have a couple little wildlife figurines and things. So I think it's actually going to come together pretty nicely. Oh, we're also going to do some dried fruit icicles for the birds or garland. So it should be a nice tree. It's, and we've got some ideas actually for next year if they do this again. So Tony's children have been great about building some stuff. I've got some stuff already put together. So I think we're going to be in a good position.
Do you still need, is there anything else you need us to fill in?
No, but if anybody wants to come help decorate on the day of the event, that would be fun.
Unfortunately,
The more the
I'm
merrier.
supposed to be out of town skiing. With the rate of snow right now, I may be available, but I'm supposed to be out of town that day. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
no worries. But if anybody is available, if not, I'm gonna commandeer a few folks, but
Okay, no,
So you've got lights.
yes,
Lights
lights
also?
check. I have them. I'm donating some lights because I
Okay.
have too many. I'm a hoarder.
Are they LED? No, I'm just. kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But I'm
Those are
recycling.
Big old bulbs that got
Not
really
that bad, not that bad, but these
Yeah.
are recycling things from my basement, but we're recycling.
we do have
Excellent,
strands, but
Yeah,
they're,
Tony's kids made
we
it.
have a few extra strands too that we have been lending out to church and stuff, but they're multicolor. I'm sorry, they're not plain white.
It's okay, I made the design choice to go with white because I thought
Yeah.
it sort of went with our.
That's,
our
oh, I
color scheme,
agree, I
but,
agree. If you want multicolor, I have some of those.
I
Okay.
I have more lights at home, some.
Right, who doesn't
White
have lights
light,
to
right.
get rid of?
If you need any.
It's the date and time.
Yeah, it's the 17th, I think, or the 18th. It's not this weekend,
It's
next
Saturday,
Saturday.
the
The
18th.
18th, there you go.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
18.
And what is it,
Or
4
7.
till 7 PM?
Yeah, do you guys want to see?
So what time do you want
Last 3 years of that.
us there?
Lucky you.
Yeah, so,
3:30 or?
yeah, John,
I think around 3:30 or 4, because I think part of the idea is to actually sort of decorate during the event. So that gives
Okay.
you guys folk time for interaction too, people have questions. And I will put together a science and EAC's trip.
Okay,
What is the date again?
Oh, yeah, I asked the same question, yeah. Next
Saturday,
next-
the 18th.
I just want to make sure I have it on my calendar.
Do you want us to, like, a couple EAC people hang around for Q&A and sign up and that kind of thing, or what do you?
well,
I mean, I don't think we're gonna have any tables at this because there are gonna be people, this is gonna be in the basketball court, basically, that's where the trees are gonna be set up. So I don't think there's gonna be any room for tables, but if you wanna, if anyone wants to hang out and talk, I think that'd be.
Okay.
yeah,
There won't really be room for handouts or signups or anything like that.
Okay,
Well, the
And you
tree,
know-
the trees are outdoors?
yes. Yes,
Well, okay, oh, so the birds will actually eat the icicles?
that's what I'm hoping. So that's
Oh.
why I want to use like dried fruits, peanuts, popcorn, all edible
Oh, got it, okay.
materials. Yeah, and we're doing the, the pine cone bird feeders where you roll them in peanut butter and bird seed.
Mhm.
And then orange pomodors where you stick the cloves in the orange. I have pictures if you guys want to see.
so then does the tree eventually get inside, or it's all,
It's
it's
gonna be
always
outside
staying?
all throughout the.
It's staying
holiday season,
outside,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Sometimes
so I
they-
tried to keep all of that in mind and trying to choose materials. Which is why I'm a little bit hesitant about doing garland, because I'm just thinking after time with the weather, I'm not so sure how that would get weighed down, but icicles should work really well, like if we do dried fruit bicycles.
Wow.
So here, I'm pulling it up right now, I have pictures, so. Yeah, it actually came together really, really well, and I found a whole bunch of milkweed pods, and I couldn't help myself, I spray painted them silver. I know that's not very environmentally friendly, but we had to have some color on the tree. And I'm refraining from glitter, so I think we got to compromise there. So that's all I could do. So it was fun. I hope we do it again next year. And I was thinking if we do it again next year, something that might be nice is if we can make some educational type ornaments where, or, actually there's some, written material, well, weatherproof somehow, but, to go along with, laminated, to go along, to explain maybe the recipes for the different things that we did or things like that. It's taken an amazing amount of time for this to download. But so we can move on. I'll show you guys after the meeting. if you
Okay.
wanna
Wow.
see.
Thank you very much, Dawn.
That's way better than my glitter thing.
Well, I think you have an
Easier to
idea.
find
There's an
ornaments.
educational- There is an educational
cans.
piece there. Did you remember a couple years ago at the arts festival, the big art installation piece was a huge cage of a cube of recycled plastics that had been gathered, I think, out of the rivers. And it was meant to show people, so I think there is value in maybe eventually creating some sort of educational piece to go with our tree.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. I have updates on various programs with NAEC. I did sit in on their Lawn to Nature program that was part of their last business meeting. They presented it virtually. That was through the folks at the Latotomy Nature Center. And I found it to be very interesting. And I think they're going to present this again through Northland Library. I looked to see, it wasn't on their schedule yet, but if I can find any publicity or announcements, I'll send those out. I thought the best part of it is the Nature Center is actually going to put together kits to start native plantings in your yard. So they'll have the seeds and prep and all the instructions to take a 10 by 10 section of your yard and seed it with native plantings.
Just fence it.
I love those
Hmm?
guys.
Just fence it.
I know, I know. I think there were questions about that. So they had a place you could sign up and order order ahead. So I've ordered one of their kits, so I'll kind of let you guys know what's involved and how that goes. I'm gonna take a back corner of my yard and see if I can make this work. So I just thought it was very interesting, and I thought it was exciting to be able to try this, because I had no idea where to start other than just like stop mowing your lawn, but I wasn't gonna do that. The next program, we're working with them, and I just sent information to John to publicize. We're going to have a winter hike in the Irwin Run Valley in North Park. That would be Saturday, January the 8th from 10 a.m. to noon. Meeting at the Beaver Shelter, which is, that's at the corner of Pierce Mill and Babcock, where the LL Bean trailer is set up there. And basically the announcement says join the North Area Environmental Council and the Town of McCandless EAC. 10 a.m. to noon. Once again, we'll get all this out, social media, but for an invigorating midwinter hike along the peaceful Irwin Run Stream Valley. All ages are welcome, mostly flat, but wear boots with tread as it may be icy in spots. But basically they'll have any EC board member, Gary Rigdon, will lead the hike, and an EAC member or two, or however many one of us can attend. And they'll have an environmental scientist discussing water quality, stream hydrology, and healthy watersheds and ecosystems. So I think they're going to cap it at 30 people, but I have the contact information here to basically email Beth Dutton to get on the list. So I hike that area all the time, never down in the valley. I hike the road, hike and run the road along Irwin Run. I don't know if everyone knows where that is.
Where, does that run north from that intersection? Is that?
It goes up to,
Yes.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah,
That-
you
that
go
direction
past the
anyway.
parking lot and Irwin Road
Yeah,
is right there, and Irwin Run runs.
okay.
I think they're gonna keep you on the road for the most part, because they're getting over by the streams. Not user
We'll see,
friendly.
because you can't see much from the road. So, unless things have kind of died down a little, but, a nice winter, I love winter hikes. It'd be really nice, a little snow on the ground or something, but anyhow, that's our next scheduled event. And we have one more.
I think it's great that we're like cross publicizing these events with NAEC.
Well, and I've been struggling to come up with ideas and pull together speakers, but we're running into organizations that do this,
Right,
and they want to work with us,
right.
and if we'll give them the publicity and sometimes the space, they'll set it all up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just running with some of these because
That's a win-win.
why
Yeah.
start from scratch on new programs? So, and they seem to be really excited to have a voice through us, and it's getting them out there as well. So they're coming to me with, well, they came to Jeff with, I think, a dozen ideas, and we whittled it down to these three. And the next one, I had just contacted John today to see if we can use the room here. We're looking at potentially tentatively March the 21st, which is a Monday. And the title of that one is Streamscapes. And that they actually have set that up as a workshop. We'd have a maximum of 20 people. And the idea was, I guess, to put on a presentation here and then divide up, set people out in tables and actually design their own streamscape. The idea is to get folks that really want to work, that have a stream area that, we're trying to keep people from mowing down to them, and they're trying to teach people how to streamscape to have a healthy side of the stream.
Interesting.
So you
So,
don't go along the street?
nope.
Oh, well.
Do you have a
I don't
stream?
have a
on
stream.
your- I don't have a stream either.
Yeah.
I have a little portion of stream and I mowed down, and put a little bench there. Now I'm gonna have to rethink that.
Right, right. And that's, I never knew all of
I didn't
this.
know that
We-
Yeah.
In forestry, we never log down to the streams. You always want to keep the trees and stuff down there. That's how you control the flood. That's how you control the banks. That's how you control the temperature of the water in the stream because of the shade and all that. It's really important to keep vegetation down close to the stream.
Helps keep silt from getting into the stream too during
Right.
runoff.
And there's a lot. I actually sat in on another webinar put on by the Conservation District last night that got into
Oh,
the whole.
yes, I couldn't be at that. Was that good?
That was good.
Thank you
That-
for
that-
sharing
that
that. I
was
wished
good.
I could have attended,
Um,
but.
And in fact, I can
Right,
share the link to that presentation. They sent
Oh,
out,
great,
they
oh,
sent
great.
out the recording, so.
Okay, yeah, I really
I will
was bummed
send
I
that out.
couldn't do that. Okay. I'm gonna follow
Look
up.
up riparian vegetation,
And that's what,
riparian
Right,
vegetation.
Carrie. Oh, okay. I'll look
that's,
that up.
that's the big, that's your big goals, right?
Through everything we need to
Riparian
know.
buffers.
The riparian is on the edge of a river then.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, got it.
I will send everybody
Real
the
world
follow-up
important
email
too.
I got from that workshop.
Okay, cool.
Yes, Shelley.
Have you had any success with your attempts to contact the library?
Oh, yes, thank you. I did get in touch with Katie.
Okay,
She's
so
still there.
I just wanted to make sure that we
Yep.
weren't being, obviously there's a little bit of a
And
issue
I
with the
checked with her
library,
on
but I
that.
just
and
want to
she-
make sure
and
that
she said-
certainly it shouldn't.
No, and she said it certainly will not.
Okay, good.
Their budget's a
I'm
little
glad-
tight, but they still look
Yeah.
forward to working with us.
I'm glad to hear that.
So once I get through these NAEC ones,
No, I
Then-
think what you're doing is great. I think that these are more unique and, and I think that we have the benefit of having the experts,
right?
kind of running it. And so, no, it's fabulous. I just want to make sure that,
Yes, I'm
I
glad
still
you-
think the library connection is a positive.
Definitely. And they agree. They want to continue to work with us as well. So that is still there. And my goal, once we get these, the second and third of these NAEC presentations done, I want to have lined up. Tony has some great ideas for some energy related, and he has the folks to present. So
Okay.
that's what I want to hit next after these stream ones. So we finally got a plan to keep our
Speaker series.
speaker
well,
series going.
Yeah, getting back in.
So, and something else Dawn mentioned, not Dawn, Beth Dutton mentioned to me is, she says some of these, putting on these presentations, we can include in our MS4.
Yes. Oh,
So
absolutely.
She's mentioned that to me a couple times, make sure that is going where it needs. So I don't know if I need to do anything.
We can, as long as there's a sign-in sheet, we can work with them. And because it is participatory, it would be for MCM1 and MCM2. That's kind of a technical term, but
Yeah.
MCM1 is basically education, MCM2 is participation.
Okay, so you just need sign-in sheets and information about the
Basically, yeah, I
program.
mean, like,
So
any
you
publicity I
can be
put out, I'll keep
you
track
can
of.
be the intermediary to
Yeah,
make sure it gets to our
Okay.
engineers who are,
I keep track of
calculating
MCM1 too, so.
Okay.
okay, perfect.
So I have to remember to do that whenever we do these, give everything to John.
Yeah, because MS4, the whole process, kind of like the sustainability certification, our permit expires in 2023, I think.
Mhm.
And the same concept applies, that the expectation is that the requirements are going to be potentially considerably more stringent. And that is a part of the kind of things we need to do. So
Mhm.
I think it's more like, any help that we, our efforts could give would be very appreciated by the town.
Okay. And John, I still had another question for you. I know you were gonna check with Bob on that 21st date and.
I
whether
don't
we-
think it's gonna be an issue. It's already on the calendar.
Oh, is it? Okay, so
Yeah, I
I
mean, it's in
can,
line with stuff we've done in the past.
so I can tell them they can go ahead and start putting it
There's no
together.
reason to say no.
Okay, because it's limited to 20 people. The only other question they had, well, number one, they did say if something were to happen and we had to shut the facilities down, they can immediately roll it into a virtual program. So they always have that backup. But is there any way to do it as a hybrid where you have in-person and also a virtual component for people?
I mean, we could do what we're doing right now. I don't know how participatory the folks who are.
And
virtual
that's
can
what
do it, but
that's what I told her. I'm not sure.
I don't know if they need like a shopping list to get a couple things. I'm not sure if we can send out worksheets. I don't know. It's kind of up to them. It's
Okay.
how the nature of the programs.
All right, so I'll have to get some more information of exactly what they would want in a hybrid program to see if we can work that out. Okay.
Judy, did you say that they were going to give sort of a presentation before the breakout groups?
Yes,
So maybe worst case scenario, there's more than 20 people, obviously, the extra people wouldn't be able to view it. So worst case, they could watch it online and maybe they wouldn't be able to participate, obviously, in that.
and I think that's kind of
Yeah.
where they're
Yeah.
going. So, but if they have a presentation, that's what I haven't been able to, I haven't participated in any of these meetings where the presentation actually came on the screen. But you can do that.
We should be able.
Because I know the one council meeting I watched, when they did the stormwater utility, that did not come up.
Yeah, it's
So-
just hit share screen, right? If they're using a computer.
Yeah, that's what we would be doing from.
It's just share
If you're on
screen.
Zoom, yeah.
Okay, so you can share screen at the same time they have it, everybody here.
Yeah, if
can
they're
see.
playing, if they want to play some sort of presentation or video, if they're sharing their screen, everyone should be able to see and hear it.
Okay, so I'll just see what other, with hybrid, how the others would participate, what their ideas were. Okay,
That program's gonna be advertised differently than, like the flooding program. Are all the flooding folks gonna come and kind of
No,
monopolize
this-
flooding?
this will not
issues,
go
or-
through the library's publicity chain, number one. They're not a part of this one, and that's, I don't know if that makes a difference. We just have to be very clear in
Yeah.
any of
What it's-
the publication of this, that this is strictly a workshop for this. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
We need to be very careful with our publicity.
Right,
Okay.
because you know how the last one
Yep.
turned out. The other thing, so you might be looking for Tony to do something
Oh,
Like,
okay.
April, May-ish, or May, June,
That
or
would,
something
that
like
would
that.
be great if we could start talking about one of your, because you had some great topics.
Right,
Yeah.
And you said you had folks that could help present them.
Yeah,
Um,
if I can get a schedule of, some even, just general time frame, I can
Because-
start to put together.
Our initial thoughts on the speaker series were to do them quarterly.
Mhm.
So at this point, if we have one scheduled in January, we have one scheduled in March. When are you done with your classes?
Yeah, so I'll be done, usually it's end of April, so. Yeah.
So maybe we look at May timeframe
Yeah. that would be
for
great.
something for you. Would that work?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, sure.
And I know I had my list of,
So I had a list of, we were talking
you had a
about
whole, and I have them in here. I don't have them.
zero waste, recycling
Right.
plastic. We're talking about water conservation, rain barrels. Well, maybe I could find, so I don't, tick education, deer management, native plants. And then I would do something on alternative energy, renewable energy, something like that. Potentially energy efficiency, managing energy in the home.
And I'll kind of leave this up to you, Tony.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because you had some great ideas, what you think you can pull together.
Yeah,
Obviously, run them by us, but
yeah.
I'll let you pick what you think you could most easily put together for a May timeframe. And then we have a couple of months. I'll let Katie know, that we're looking at something in May, most likely for our next joint event.
And then we're
And-
looking at every 2 or 3 months after that is kind of the,
And with the way NAC is working with us, we may be able to do more often.
yeah.
And we can check back with the PA Lime folks, because that was a no-brainer. That's been a very easy collaboration with them.
Mhm.
Because the last one they did all virtually, and we had close to 100 people logged onto that one. And that's a good one to run periodically, because that problem never goes away. So there's a lot we can do, but yeah, if something that you and I worked on, if we could think of something quarterly, I think that would be great.
Yeah. No, I think I could easily get, let's say, 3 presentations together within whatever 2022, I guess from
Mhm.
May onward.
Right,
And then
right.
if we fill in with other, maybe we do it monthly at some point. I don't know if that's pushing it, but
It depends on how we run them, the spaces we need, obviously, I'm not sure if whether the library can give us those kind of resources that often, because they actually put all the publicity materials together. They will put together a flyer and they will publicize it through their website, through all of their bulletin boards that they use. And then we send it through our stuff. I think we've used Tony LaRusso at the Trib has publicized them as well.
Right.
So we use a lot of different channels, and the last couple of speaker series events we did, we were up around 100 people.
Yeah, that's great. That's
So
excellent. Yeah.
They maxed out at 200
was it
Oh, wow.
that much? Wow.
and it was maxed out.
Mhm.
Well, that's what's nice if we do have the option of having a hybrid,
Mhm.
then if it is maxed out as far as space, then people can still join.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just great to have that option because you never know when they shut the facilities down again. And some of these, it's about as easy. You get more participants. I'm perfectly happy to sit in my home and watch the slideshow.
Me too.
Yeah.
It makes it makes it more likely I'll do it.
Yeah.
So,
Especially after a day of work.
right. So any other questions or comments on all that stuff coming up?
Sounds great.
Yeah, that community outreach, it was kind of sputtering there for a while, and now it's really,
Well, because everything shut down.
Yeah,
And
it
I know
really
personally, I
is.
just kind of gave up on it for a little while because I didn't want to
Right.
spend all this time planning to
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
have to change it all again. So,
no, I think it's great.
okay.
We all came together.
Next up, miscellaneous items. Dave, you have mail tips for this month? You and John good with that?
Who will be for, so Dave has January then?
And end of December,
Which is right, it's the January,
And then will I
January.
be next?
most likely.
Okay, oh God, so
You're
I'll
going-
have February, end of
Yeah.
January, February. Okay.
Yeah.
Unless you want to switch.
No.
Well, if you wanna-
Good try, Dave, good try.
I think I took your stormwater and whatever.
Even though you did just work on one.
Well, but I didn't.
But the main thing, I know John and I were just trying to work through how many, because I know he prefers to keep them on the shorter end, because the shorter they are, the more people will read it.
Yeah.
More than a couple of paragraphs, and I think a lot of people just, so John, what were you saying up to, was it about 300 words?
I think 200, 300 words is.
200, 300
It's
words.
stretched to 400 if need be, but
Yeah.
shorter is better. McMail gets really long sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
And an update on our vacancy on the committee. We presently have, 2 applicants, but it's still open until the 13th. Yep.
Okay.
We'll proceed with interviews shortly after the 13th.
Good applicants. Have you met with them?
I know of one of them. I have not looked at the other one yet. And
Good.
yeah, I think we're
Good.
good.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I don't know what the rule is in terms of how many members, but can we afford to turn anyone away at this point?
I mean, we're maxed out at 7 members.
The max is 7.
Yeah,
Is
at least
that,
by resolution.
Mm.
But I mean, it would probably be a council decision after that if there was any interest in increasing it. But I mean, we can only have so many volunteers because it's really hard to recruit, as we all know. It's really hard to get people to apply. So I don't know if we would increase, decrease, but I think 7 is where we're staying. Does that make sense?
because that's what I'm thinking. This fall, I've had terrible luck with volunteers. I can't,
Mhm.
the litter folks, it was way down. Nobody wants to put stickers on catch basins. Nobody wants to maintain the rain gardens. I just don't want to turn off somebody who, has an interest in the committee.
Well, and can we make it known too, that we have a couple of members timing out, basically, you won't be able to apply, is that correct? You and Ken will,
So they can apply.
Unless if no one
And if
else.
there's no one else.
Oh,
that-
okay, okay.
If Dave and Ken would be willing to serve and there were no applicants.
Yeah. We've already
then
been re-upped once.
Right, right.
Both of
Isn't
them.
the maximum? I thought you could only serve a maximum of two.
You
Did
can
I
do 2 terms,
misunderstand
I
that?
think, yeah.
2 terms.
We
But
did
you guys
that.
also had short terms too, because we had a 2,
We had
There
a
were a
half
couple
term.
2
We had a
years.
half,
Oh,
so
okay.
we're at a term and a half.
yeah, so
Okay, well,
that's an interesting question, John.
I think Bob and I are gonna talk about that.
Would you,
Because we have a lot of.
I
opinions
did
about how
not
this
realize
works.
that. I did not realize that you're both partial to
okay,
terms.
no, I didn't realize that either.
I don't know. I know we both, you know,
Yeah, okay,
What happened
well,
was to scatter
in
everyone.
the same,
I mean, I won't be
people.
here anymore. I guess that, when does that come about in? Isn't that in the summer?
When these terms. expire.
Yeah.
we're up in September.
Yeah, usually
End of
September
August.
1st. is
Well,
the-
anyway, that's a really good question.
Yeah, I mean, what happened was because it was a new committee, there were 4 terms that started at 4 years. And then there were 3 that started at 2 years, just to make sure everyone was scattered,
Right,
so
right.
there wasn't a whole changeover. So I
Okay.
forget who the other position was, who was a 2-year term, but they're not on anymore, obviously.
So, yeah, I would like to know that, just, if we get 2 good applicants, we can't take them both. Would we be able to tell the other one, well, we know we'll have openings, next summer, please bear with us.
Or, I mean, can't we try to work those people in to, like, Dave's always looking for people to help with litter stuff
Volunteers.
and, maybe, yeah, but maybe they would be interested in helping putting together watershed and,
You could create
stormwater.
Yes, they have a-
subcommittees, Judy.
Yeah,
Specific
maybe-
interest in
Yeah,
something.
maybe finding
Yeah.
out what their interest is and then we can
Well, same thing.
Harvest
Sustainability, the sustainability certificate, like, a
for some of these other
subcommittee.
projects.
would be
Yeah,
awesome.
let's not turn them away.
Right.
Okay.
They could be involved voluntarily for a while.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until a term comes
Judy,
up.
let's talk about that when we have the interviews.
Okay.
I mean, John, do you see anything wrong with talking to them about if there's, if you're not on the committee, would you be interested in participating with the committee
Oh, yeah.
as a volunteer on a project or a subcommittee? Like,
Yeah, I
just
mean,
kind
one of
of.
them already is a frequent volunteer. so-
You're right. I think that's the litter group.
Yeah.
Oh, who is it? Is it
Right,
Jeff?
That's always a good problem. to
I'm
have.
sorry.
right,
Is Jeff?
right.
Jeff has
Applying?
applied
Oh, nice. Okay.
and someone
good.
else.
Yeah. That's a
Okay,
good
well,
point.
that's good to know,
Excellent.
because you're right, we don't want to turn away good volunteers.
Yeah, and I
think
don't
that's a
want to,
wonderful point.
because
actually.
sometimes somebody, if they're not accepted, they'll say, oh, to hell with the
Yeah.
EAC, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna.
Or
you
they'll
know,
move
they-
on. Who was the other gentleman
They
that
turned me down.
went to
you know,
the
that kind of thing.
activities?
Yeah, and we did
Committee.
Actually, he was recruited. They came to me,
Oh, okay.
he
Got pilfered.
he was exactly the kind of, if we hadn't had applicants that actually had, unique EAC related types of knowledge and professional experience and everything, I'm sure the EAC would have been happy to have this gentleman because he was very enthusiastic. He just wanted to get involved, which we can all appreciate. And actually, this was a case of a more global, it's like, hey, here's a guy who, for the reasons aforesaid, didn't get a position on the EAC, but hey, let's go recruit him to do something else because he wants to get involved. So, I mean, it was actually a win-win, in my opinion.
Okay, next, Dave, you had asked again about the EAC conference coming up. That's in February, it's February the 26th. It's a virtual conference. Dawn, I believe you were going to sign up.
I did sign up. Yeah.
That's great.
I registered.
Thank
Okay,
you.
cool.
I believe it's $25.
Mhm.
And even once we have one person registered, that person can share the links after the
Yeah.
fact. So even if you don't want to participate, it's because it's a good bit of a Saturday. But you can always go back and watch the presentations. Once she finishes up, she'll have access to the links and can share them. I believe I did that last year.
Saturday in middle of February, there's not a lot going on.
Ski season, come on.
Snow shoveling.
So, yeah, and I think that's 10 till 4:30 on that Saturday, the 26th. And if anybody else is looking for the link, I'm happy to share that again. And I thought it was really worthwhile that I watched last year. Just interesting, amazing to see what some of these groups are able to do. Especially the thing I noted, it was just myself and somebody from Cranberry were the only Western Pennsylvania representatives there that I could tell. Almost everybody's Eastern and Philadelphia suburbs. And I thought that was interesting. And obviously some of these old communities with a lot of money were able to do some amazing things. I sat there and wondered how on earth did you get hundreds of thousands of dollars for these
Yeah.
programs, but they do a lot with it. Okay, does anybody have any other topics to add to next month's agenda? Anything new? Other than happy holidays. All right, report from town council. Shelley, your last town council report.
First of all, I had a question. I just had a question of John. Did our planting guide make it into the calendar?
You did.
Okay.
Calendar's.
All right.
The calendar is at the printer.
It's at the
Just waiting
printer.
for postage.
Congratulations.
It's actually on, it's
It's on the
posted on the
website, too, yeah.
website. I did find it.
Oh, I wasn't aware. Anyway, I have absolutely no, I'm always willing to take questions, but I'm a little sad tonight, actually. It's been my absolute pleasure and honor to have been a member of this committee originally, and then to be the liaison ultimately. I love it. I love what you do. And I have to say, I think that the group I'm unfortunately kind of leaving is one of the best, is probably, since I was involved in EAC, the very best EAC group that I've experienced. The stuff you're talking about, you know, some of the committees, I'm not dishing anyone, but you know, they have their meetings, they're very, and John would probably like it if we were a little quicker here at EAC. But, you know, they have half-hour meetings, hour meetings tops, but I love the fact, I think this is such a dynamic topic and it's so broad that I love the fact, and it's always been this way kind of, that we talk about things. We don't just give reports, boom, we actually converse about it. We collaborate about it. We share our knowledge about it. And I think that's one of the things that makes the EAC great. And as a newer committee, I think that you are totally not only on the verge, but you're more than post-verge of getting great things done. And I just want to thank you for all that you're doing. And again, I've been, it's been, I'm going to miss y'all. I really am. I don't know who whoever is president of council in January will make new committee assignments and, you know, liaison assignments. So I don't know at this juncture who your new liaison will be, but as I've said many times, I'm always happy on a volunteer basis to help. Please keep me posted. I'll be around. I'm on planning commission now. So anyway, thank you.
Well, and
Thank you and happy holidays, Merry
Yeah.
Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate.
And thank you, Shelley. We'll miss, I know me personally will really miss having you on this committee. It seems to be, you've almost been the heart and soul of this since it started. Both, you know, as
That I think
Yeah,
actually you're a great
but
chair,
in,
Judy, and
getting
you have
the
a great vice chair, great
Yeah,
committee.
the whole
You guys are the thing.
sustainability effort, that, I mean, that was a huge effort that you saw it through, and you're making sure that we don't let it
drop
him.
and John as well.
I'll let RJ have that.
And
But
it wasn't just this like cookbook effort either. It
No.
was, you know, inventing or reinventing all of these different things and trying to at the same time having the scorecard with the points and.
I came in, I was,
Oh,
it looked, I was completely blown away and kind of humbled by all that. I came on and went, oh my gosh, this is a lot of stuff.
yeah.
But, and then just as liaison, really actually almost remaining a member of the committee is.
I know, I
active
talk
and
too much.
engaged.
I
No,
do,
but you
but
know what?
I never
It's-
really got used to the liaison versus member part. Sometimes I even wanted, like, when you guys would say, okay, do we approve the minutes? I was like, aye. It's hard to get away from
Well,
that, but
best of luck. I'm happy to see you move on to planning commission and I look forward to working with you there as well.
I think there will be
I think that would be
opportunities
great.
for sure, on the environmental, at least I hope so. The planning commission is also a group that has, you know, a number of, one of the positions I got was a terming out member, so there's new people, there's three new people on the planning commission, so I don't know what to expect, but I'm certainly in my heart, I'm hoping that there's things in that venue that will translate over to things that the EAC could perhaps help with,
That would be great.
participate in,
It
so.
seems like Hampton does things.
They absolutely do it that way. New developments have to go through the planning commission and the EAC. I don't know if it's simultaneous, but I think it more or less is, and they.
So is a commission a different entity than a committee in the town? How the town works, or is it just a term? Are they interchangeable or
okay.
terms, or is it?
So.
It's complicated. I think is the answer.
It's
Yeah,
complicated.
I think
Oh.
there's, the planning commission probably is, I should know this, but it's probably in the charter.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're required to have like a planning commission, zoning hearing board, things like that, right?
Chief of police, you
Yeah.
know, so yeah, it's different in that way
But
because,
the planning commission, you can make decisions independent of council?
no,
No, not at all.
the way that,
Okay.
again, back to the charter, the planning commission is only a recommending body.
Okay, same as us then.
Yeah, same as you, yeah, or
Okay.
us. Today for it's us. Yeah, that's exactly right. The planning commission votes and ultimately, like for a plan for new development, they will recommend it or not, but it ultimately goes before council and council votes and decides. And I would say my experience, though not terribly long, has been that it's sometimes a mixed bag.
No,
Of-
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
The planning commission, they see through zoning changes and things like that. But do they also see permitting, or is that a different department, different group? So if I
Permitting
came,
is-
like a building permit, like.
We
if I-
have a permitting office. It's under RJ.
Oh, okay.
That's
So it doesn't go through the planning commission.
not really, not in the sense of just if you want to go build a shed on your property or build an addition, that just goes through the planning department
But a
here.
development permit would.
But if you need a subdivision,
Oh,
if
good.
you need a variance, you know, a setback variance, if
Okay,
it's a new development,
yeah.
you know, it all goes through planning commission.
Because in my former life as an engineer, we used to take projects and present in front of a conservation commission. And they had the ability to approve, or, you know, that it never went to any higher up in the town government. It was, they either approved it or didn't
Interesting.
approve
Hmm.
it. You know, in terms of wetlands and all of, you know, erosion control and all of those kind of things. So I was just wondering if that was Massachusetts, but
I have found, because, when I was doing development, I did it in, well, ultimately in my career, I guess, 7 or 8 different states. And all I can say is that it's a total mixed bag of how things work. Who has, I think there are planning commissions that doesn't get to council if it doesn't pass muster with planning commissions. Sometimes there's planning, there might be a mayor, but it's a figurehead, and planning commission is really almost the governing body, it's just, but here planning commission is an recommending body.
Does council normally just rubber stamp what?
That's what I
No.
was saying. No, I think my experience is that which I think is a good thing. I think that at least the council that we have now, we certainly take into consideration planning commission's recommendations. We should be, if, I do, but I think everyone should be watching, if not attending the planning commission meetings and everything, understanding what they're dealing with, and ultimately council making an independent decision, which has, in my experience, differed from planning commission's recommendation on a number of occasions.
Dave, just to note, so I was on the planning commission for Avalon, Borough of Avalon years ago. And on the flip side of that, it very much was, we vetted everyone. We made, we met with the groups, we met with whoever it was that we needed to. We, in a sense, made a decision, though it had to be approved by the council. But there was, interesting enough, there was never really a question. It was, they looked to us as the vetting option, and then just said, okay, you've done your diligence. There you go.
Right.
So, yeah, the variable is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
every municipal, to my point, having worked in many, many municipalities, they're all different.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thank you all. And thank you so much for all the effort you put into this. This is a great group, and our new members and our existing members. It's impressive. So I will miss you all.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Okay, I see we have a member of the public. We have some questions in chat. I can't.
Actually, he said he was gonna wait till next month. We wanted to speak, but
Okay, okay, so we have no public
he's
comments
ready.
then?
He rose his hand, so.
Was he ready?
There we go.
Hey, I'm just going to keep this brief. It is my first meeting, and I just want to commend you all. That was a very intelligent meeting, very well run. It made sense. So thank you. Enjoy your holidays, and I'll see you next month.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank you.
attending.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Happy holidays. Okay, if do we have any other
I
business?
just had two question. Did we ever, what was the outcome of the coal tar outreach? Did something come of that?
I
Then
guess well, I think we're at a point, it's on our list for additional educational campaigns. That's really as far as we took it at this point, unless somebody else has another avenue that we think we should.
Well, we brought it, through me, we brought it before council, not once, but twice.
Okay.
And a vote was taken, and majority of council chose not to want to issue a resolution. A resolution doesn't prohibit anything, but recommends, but they were not even prepared at that juncture to do even that much.
So really all they,
I think education is what's left to the EAC at this juncture.
right, and that's
would
what
that-
they charged us with. They said
Right,
basically
there's a
they approved our
Project form.
project form. And at this point, I did try and reach out to the woman who put the coal tar ban information out there, Mandy Steele, to see if she could help us with some educational outreach, and I never got any response back from her. And at that point, we published a McMail educational piece.
Right.
And
Oh, okay, so there's already, okay. all
It
right.
was
So
in the
we-
McMail.
Oh, sorry, okay.
we did do that, and then just kind of, it's on our list of potential topics going forward. That's pretty much where it
Okay.
stands.
It might be something for the spring, people are starting to look at their
Look at the driveways
driveway
again
and
and,
parking
and,
lots and maybe some more, another kind
and
of.
Dave did always have his eyes open for.
Yeah, I saw all sorts of folks doing, parking lot sealing and,
Did you ask them?
oh,
what
yeah,
they use it?
I
Oh,
ask them
yeah.
all the time. They absolutely do not use coal tar.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
oh, that's good. to
I
know.
was wondering if they really
Those that
knew.
load.
Yeah, we
You know,
had,
they-
and they had MSDS sheets for it.
Oh, that's
and,
awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had
Retail.
Created a-
No, it was
I
a
didn't,
commercial project.
include everyone, but probably
They were
Judy
actually
and
doing
John, maybe
other
Shelley also, just
Yeah.
kind of a running tab
I
of
mean,
all of
they had a
these
big operation. going.
sealers, I guess you'd call them,
Yeah.
that
Okay.
were doing work in McCandless and pictures of them and some interviews and, yeah, they didn't even know where to get any coal tar type products.
Okay.
Well, thanks for scouting it. That's all.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So-
for the most part, it seems like,
And then we
The
looked at Home
contractors are-
Depot and Lowe's
yeah.
and they don't have it, everything is asphalt based, so.
And a
We
friend of
kinda-
mine that does, so their company is chemical distribution and that, he has no idea of where you would get coal tar in this area.
Yeah, so that was kind of a,
So ban something that's not existent.
yeah, or at least, I don't know if it's a
Well, that
Western
was part, that
Pennsylvania
was part of
thing. or-
council's
and
decision
it was, you're
logic.
right.
That they had no knowledge, nor could we present them any knowledge that it was
Mm.
a real risk in
Right.
McCandless.
Yeah.
And I mean, I felt at least hard, I still would have liked the resolution, but
Right.
myself, I mean, obviously I presented it, but I felt better about the fact that the Pennsylvania Asphalt Something Association, PA blank A group had actually, which is obviously an industry group,
Right.
was publicly opposed to the use of any coal tar projects
Yeah.
in the Commonwealth. So that made me feel a little better.
Right, yeah, no, that's good.
Hmm.
Well, I just had one last comment that, to go along with, and I know I always go back to solar, but there is it's actually available to municipalities. Department of Energy sponsored it. They recently developed, it's called Solar APP, and it's a automated permitting processing online application. So I don't, again, John might know better than me, but I don't know how many applications come in for solar, but it's basically an automated process and it saves the township time in review. So it's the initial review and then there's still inspections and things, but essentially it's basically a instantaneous review of the permitting application.
Now, is
So-
that for residents then?
Yes,
Or-
for residents and commercial, yeah. And so it's called Solar APP Plus. If anyone's interested, I'll go ahead and send an email out. There's a
Okay,
webinar, they explain it. I think they said there are a number of communities that have already piloted it. And so they interviewed some of the mayors of the town and
Mhm.
all positive feedback. And I think they said they were looking for 125 new municipalities throughout they were calling them ADJs, something jurisdictions, ADJ, I don't know. Anyway, I think they meant, it stands for
too
municipality.
many acronyms.
Okay, right. But anyway, so it's an opportunity, it's totally free, and maybe it would reduce any sort of permitting load when it comes to that. Wasn't the idea is to streamline some of the permitting. I don't know, I had to go through some of the permitting over
Mhm.
2 summers ago, and it wasn't the most fun.
Okay, no, thank you.
So streamline for free, I guess.
Right. Okay, anybody else? All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
I will motion.
No one wants to go home.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Everyone have a wonderful holiday.
This.
Thank you very much. Shelley.
So it's actually out